My name is Stephen Greco, and I am your moderator for today's webinar on 5 practical ways to incorporate AI into any business. We have a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. Well, I guess at first, let's provide a little bit of background of who I am. Once again, I'm Stephen Greco. I am in product management. I actually run the product team here at Axia Technology Partners, and I've been in the product space for about 13, 14 years in some capacity, whether it be individual contributor or leading a product team or product teams. So I've been, living product for quite a while. And then our speaker today is going to be Roger Veach. He's the president and CEO of Axia Technology Partners. Roger has over 30 years of experience providing IT solutions for various industries, such as business and professional services, manufacturing, healthcare, transportation, construction, even MLB. Honestly, you name it, he's probably done something in that industry. He is a wealth of knowledge, has a wealth of experience, which is part of the reason I'm so glad that you're able to join us today. Because this isn't going to be just another, high-level talk about AI or, AI is good, let's go out and use AI. Today, we're actually going to dive into some real-world applications and strategies that small and medium-sized businesses can use and that leaders can actually implement right away. But before we get started, we have a little bit of housekeeping items. Today's webinar is going to run about 45 minutes long. We appreciate that you're taking the time to come and listen to us. And we know that your time is valuable, so we want to respect that. And we are going to hold to the 45-minute duration. Also, if you look at the right side of your screen, you're going to see a chat window. Please utilize that chat window. Put in any questions or comments that you may have. We're going to try to reserve some time at the end for some Q&A. So go ahead and utilize that chat, and we'll be able to respond either in real time or at the end of the Roger's presentation. Also, you'll notice at the top right near the chat tab, you'll see a handouts tab. Go ahead and click in there and look at some of the handouts that we've created. There's some additional information that I know you'll be able to leverage. So go ahead and explore and see how that can help you. And then in the bottom left corner, you'll see a little button that'll allow you to schedule some time with us. Let's say you need some more one-on-one attention, or hey, I still need help. Go ahead and click on that button, and you'll be able to schedule some time with Roger and our team. This session will be recorded, so everyone who registered will receive a recording of this session in their inbox. And then lastly, as mentioned in our emails and our flyers, we will be raffling off 3 Amazon gift cards to 3 lucky attendees. The only catch is you must be present to win, so stick around. All right, I think we got all the housekeeping out of the way. So let's get into the good stuff, the reason you're all here. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Roger Veach, President and CEO of Axia Technology Partners. And Roger's going to walk you through 5 practical ways AI can improve how you run and grow your business.
Thanks,
Roger.
Stephen. Thanks, Stephen. I hope I can live up to everything you said there. Hello, everyone. I'm Roger Veach. I've been in this industry for around 30 years. And, what's kind of ironic was, I got started, I was a CFO. I couldn't find software to do what I wanted. So I thought I would teach myself to code. And, the next thing I knew, I had a full functioning technology business. And, I've been very fortunate over the last 30 years. I've consulted with a lot of different industries, a lot of different solutions. And, over those 30 years, the biggest thing that, we've always tried to solve for our clients is, how to solve their problems with understanding their data and making their operations more efficient. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited about AI is because some of the things that we used to have to do in the past that took, hours upon hours of creating scripts and code to get analytics, now we can make happen very quickly. So, to continue on here, what I'd like to share with you today is, what AI really is. There's a little bit of confusion. Common business challenges that our clients are seeing, on a daily basis, and 5 practical ways that you can utilize AI, easily and, get started, and build into, a full functioning, AI system. And then a roadmap that we do for our clients, and how we move them forward, through, through a practical approach. So, the first thing I want to cover is timeline of AI. AI has actually been around since the 50s. 60s and 70s and 80s, it was kind of the years that we were building the base. I don't know if any of you remember, Lantastic and Novell. You know, those were networking systems that, really started bringing computers together to where they could communicate more effectively, more cost effective. So if you think of, where AI was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's kind of where they were, just starting to get everyone, connected. And then in the 90s, AI was able to for the first time, beat a human playing chess. And then in 2010, it really started to pick up. We had Siri and Alexis come on the scene. And then now in, the 20s, AI is practical for every business. There's a few things out there that get confused as AI, and I want to share that with you. Is automation. Automation often gets confused with AI because it's basically you go to a website, you place an order, sends you an email. That's an automation because what it's doing, it's following a preset rule. The other thing is machine learning. How many times have you searched for something on Amazon or a shopping site? When you go back to that site, it has, tons of suggestions for you based upon what you've looked at in the past. Or how many times have you talked about something in front of Alexa and the next thing you know in your Amazon shopping cart, you see this. So those are things that often get confused as AI, and they really aren't. AI is a broader concept. It mimics human thinking. And that's something I want to be very clear about is it mimics human thinking. It is never going to be able to replace human thinking because it lacks the critical thinking skills that a human possesses. The other thing it lacks is the experience and the knowledge that individuals have, about a business or about a product or how to create relationships with your customers. AI is not going to be able to do that. It's going to be able to help you maintain those relationships and respond quicker and make the customer happy. But it's never going to be the same element that a human interaction will be. A lot of the common business challenges we're facing today is, gaps in staffing. How many of you have gaps in your staffing? You really need someone that can create an image for you or someone that can create a video for you. And so you end up outsourcing that and it becomes, costly for your business. And especially if you're a small business with 2 or 3 employees, it's really hard to justify bringing someone on just to do those tasks. And then information overload. The nice thing about everything being automated and computerized now is we've got all this information at our fingertips. But, a lot of people don't have the technical ability to get, deep into the data and truly understand what it is. So, you've got all this information and you just have no way of using it. And then a limited capacity for market research. How many times do you try to see what your competitors are doing? You spend tons of hours online and you really didn't know any more than what you did before you started. And then security. We all have security concerns today. Everything's electronic. We've got a digital footprint everywhere. And, we have to be able to protect that. And there's just so many things out there. It's overwhelming to try to protect that without some sort of help. And these are the things that AI can help us with. So we came up with 5 practical uses for AI, for small businesses. Enable data synthesis and decision making. We need to be able to make decisions quickly, and it's more important for a small business than it is for a large corporation. A large corporation can handle, losing effectiveness or losing margin on a product longer than a small business can. So, our small businesses, we need to be able to see data quickly and make decisions almost instantaneously so that we can pivot. Because a lot of small businesses are a family-owned business, 3 or 4 people, and if they lose money for 1 or 2 months, it can really impact the company. Strengthen security. With all of the cyber attacks out there, the phishing attempts, the ransomware, things of that nature, that makes security so important today. And we'll talk about, how AI is helping that. Supplement staffing gaps. Talked about that earlier. You need people to be able to do what you can do in-house without, spending outside funds to do that. And create exceptional customer service. You know, for example, we're an MSP. There are 142,000 MSPs in the United States. The only thing that separates us out from our competitors is exceptional customer service. And that's true with a lot of small businesses. How many times have your customers told you they chose you because they get more one-on-one attention because you're a smaller company than a lot of bigger companies? And then supporting business functions. How many times you need to write a proposal and you need some help doing that. So let's jump into this and talk about these 5 topics. Enable data synthesis and decision making. AI has helped with that so much. And for several years, I've consulted with clients in the retail industry. I have one client in Chicago. It's a really high-end boutique. And the owner of that boutique, she feels that her customers buy different colors of clothing based upon hair color, eye color, and sometimes their background. So what we've done is we've helped her capture that data, and then we're using AI to analyze that. So we take that information, AI analyzes it, pulls it into her open to buy system. So then when she purchases the next season's items that she's going to feature in her store, she has a basis of what her customers are buying within her store. And this has increased her profitability quite a bit. Another thing we have done in professional sports, Major League Baseball, we can tell how many ounces of Bud Light or Coca-Cola were sold during the 7th inning stretch, and it's instantaneous for the team. The team can now, make announcements on the speaker to, drive traffic to different, and even drive traffic to different areas of the ballpark because other areas of the ballpark are congested. Professional motorsports, we're able to take all the information, put it into an AI decoder and figure out and predict lap times based on changes that they make to the cars. In transportation, as I mentioned earlier, I got started in this because, I was a CFO. I was a CFO of a transportation company. I could not find the data that I needed to run the business. And so I created an application, and I was able to predict down to the penny per mile what certain things were costing. But it was very time consuming. I would spend, 16, 24 hours a week on analyzing that data. Now the things that I used to have to do in creating queries, writing reports and all that, I can easily do with AI. And we have a product now for transportation that is AI driven. And we can tell down to the penny of the mile, the difference in configurations of equipment, what they cost. The other thing is manufacturing. We are able to, with AI, monitor vibrations of equipment and predict when that piece of equipment is going to fail. Another really cool example of this is the integration between Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft BI. We can create a data set in Microsoft BI, and then we can utilize Copilot to ask all different types of questions about that data set. And Power BI will go ahead and create the charts and graphs for us based upon the questions we ask. This integration is really powerful, and it's something I'm very excited to work with. Our engineers are excited to work with, and we solved a lot of problems for our clients with that. Now let's talk about protection from evolving threats. We've all seen the stories, and some of us have experienced it. Ransomware, their data's held hostage. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get get their data back, or they just lose the data. AI-driven cybersecurity has changed this so much and made it more effective for us. We've got behavioral analytics now. If a user suddenly accesses a sensitive file at 3 a.m., transfers large amount of data, AI can trigger a alert for the team and get someone on it to see what's going on. Ransomware detection. AI models can now analyze behavior and structure of files to detect evolving malware. The other thing we can even do is look at network traffic. A lot of times we will monitor network traffic for our clients during the day. And if we see a spike at a certain time, or let's say we see a spike at 1 a.m., we get an alert to our center, and then one of our representatives jumps on, they take a look, and they see what's going on. And then automated incident response. Sometimes if we see a lot of traffic on a port that typically doesn't have a lot of traffic on that port, we can utilize AI and turn that port off immediately. When we were creating our AI-driven cybersecurity solution, there was a framework that we knew that we had to have. We looked at endpoint protection. We wanted that to be AI automated. We looked at AI-powered threat detection. We wanted, our threat detection to be stepped up, email phishing and protection. One of the things we've done with our email phishing and protection, we actually send, with the client's permission, of course, we send out simulated phishing attacks. We send it out to certain employees in the company. If they, fail the test for that, then our AI engine determines how they failed the test, and it creates a training program for them. And then we email them a training program and have them go through certain trainings so that, in the future, they know how to do this. So it's kind of like training the staff to, protect themselves. Identity and access management. Here's a good example. Let's say that I log in today at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. in Zionsville, Indiana. And then all of a sudden at 11:45, I'm logging in Southern California. Well, AI can say, well, there's no way Roger made it from Zionsville, Indiana to Southern California in a half an hour. And then it can create an incident that we need to respond to and alert our staff to take care of that. And then continuous improvement. The nice thing about AI is we can continue to learn. We can take and put all of this together in a dashboard and get reports that we need to know to make our systems more secure and moving forward. Number 3 is a big thing. Supplemental limited staff. How many times have you been asked to do more with less? And unfortunately, the way the economy's been the last couple of years, we've all had to figure out how to do that. There are a lot of tools out there that they can make social media posts for you. They can respond to social media posts. You've heard of chatbots on websites that can answer basic questions for your customers. And, the thing about all this is it reduces bottlenecks, and it allows you to take care of the more important things that require critical thinking than the things that just need to be automated responses. A couple, applications that we've looked at and a lot of our clients have played with to get started, are, is, Centra and Synthesis. Yeah. The thing about these two is, with Centra, it runs on ChatGPT, and it gives you several of the ChatGPT bots. And this is a really good tool for you to kind of dip your toes into AI and understand how AI works. Like with any AI, a lot of it is dependent upon how you ask it the questions. But the thing this does is it enables you to strengthen your existing team. For example, if you can't afford a social media strategist, this can help you with the basics of creating a social media strategy. You can also integrate this into your LinkedIn. You can integrate it into your X. And what it will do is auto respond to comments from your users or your followers. And then let's talk about rapid multimedia content. With Synthesis, what we can do there is we can take an image of ourselves, integrate it into the system, and then it creates an avatar. And then we provide a script within that product, and we have a full functioning video. This works great if you need to create training videos for your clients or training videos for your staff. And maybe you don't have time to set and record a video, or you don't have the budget to bring a recording staff in to create the video and edit it for you. Some of these videos, a 3 to 5 minute video can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to produce. So these are tools that are great for you to get started. By no means are these the end all be all. Just like any, tool, off the shelf tool, there's limitations. But I think these are two tools that can help you get started and let you start to see the benefits of AI. And then from there, you can build from that. Creating exceptional customer experience. That's something here at Axia that, it's our mission. We want our customers to have an exceptional experience. And something that we're doing now is we're implementing AI into our help desk program. The thing about what we're doing with AI is there are a lot of things we do for our customers that it's a repeatable task, and the bad thing is sometimes our customer has to wait because our employees are tied up, with projects, or, we've had several customers that day to have an issue. But for example, let's say you want to add a user. Well, adding a user, it doesn't take our team long, but sometimes it may take an hour for us to to get that done for you, just because of workloads and things like that. With this solution that we're implementing, you will be able to send an email to our help desk, and within 10 minutes, your user's created based upon your security parameters and our security parameters. I don't want you to think this is just going to arbitrarily go out there and create users everywhere. Based upon all of the security parameters, and we have your user up and going. And sometimes it's as much as instantaneously. The other thing is, we can provide 724 support for simple things. Things like, for internet access providers, they can chat with a chat bot. It can run them through the simple troubleshooting program. After they've tried this, they've tried that. And then what it does is it keeps that staff available to working on the real problems that take human interaction and take critical thinking to solve. The repetitive task, now in the days of IT, we've got RMM, remote monitoring and management. A lot of those things can be solved remotely. The other thing is it works for all industries. I have a client in the aviation industry. They provide parts and tools to people who build experimental aircraft. One thing that we've done for them, we've created a chat bot to where when they go to their site, if they say that they're building this certain brand of aircraft, utilizing this engine and this avionics, we can load the back end with PDFs that explain the configuration of all of those particular items. And then AI will bring all those together in one manual to where it seems like a customized experience for the user. And it brings all the information about their particular setup. This has made it so much easier for our client. The other thing it enables our client to do, it enables their employees to be more thorough and provide better documentation. because as AI pulls all that together, it creates the documentation for them as well. And then the customer instantly has that in their hands. In supporting business functions, when I first got started with ChatGPT, my biggest thing was, a lot of times if we were rolling out a new product or a new service, I needed to, have documentation to get what was in my head, to my technicians and my engineers and my marketing people. And AI has helped me so much. I'll go into ChatGPT and I will say, I want to do this certain thing with these parameters. And, I would like to have that in a document. But what it does is it doesn't give me my completed solution because it still needs my personal touch on it. But it saves me those 2 to 3 hours of that front end busy work of creating that. And now I've got this nice polished document that I can go in and I can work it out to be, exactly what I want. And then I can hand it off to my staff. Same thing with training guides. One of the things that we've done is we could take training guides from Microsoft, from VMware, and, any other type of product out there. And we can take AI and have it pull certain things out of those training guides and put those in a customized training guide for our customer. There's so many products out there that can do this for you, and it can save you a tremendous amount of time. So, it just increases to your operational efficiency. And in today's world, operational efficiency is just as important as sales. I covered all that, and I should have moved the slide forward a little bit, but, this just gives us an idea of, all those documents that we can do with ChatGPT. We can do planning and reporting, operational forms and logos, business agreements. I can create an example template for an agreement, turn it over to our legal team and let our legal team, finalize it. Proposal templates. We can now create proposal templates that are geared toward the customer. We can put the characteristics and the personality traits of the customer into the creation of our proposals to where we can make sure the customer is going to understand how we do what we need to do. So, what I really want to, make sure everyone understands as we look at this journey of AI is it doesn't replace your people. It empowers them. So many people today feel that, they're going to lose their jobs because of AI. And, and I understand, it is intimidating, and some people feel that, that they're going to be replaced like that. And for example, AI can create coding, but we still have to have a developer go through and create and clean that coding up and make sure it functions in that environment, because there are critical skills that AI is missing that we gain with human interaction. AI doesn't understand the application fully like the human developer does. And, the same thing with, sales and marketing piece. AI can give us suggestions based upon what is fed into AI, but it still misses that gut feeling. How many business decisions have you made in your business that were successful just because it was a gut feeling? So, whenever you talk to your employees, that is something that I would make sure that they understand about AI is, we still need them to put the prompts into AI. And that's another piece of our practice is helping you engineer those prompts, because those prompts are so critical to what you get out of AI. It goes back to the initial thing when computers were created and we learned very early on. It's garbage in and garbage out. And with AI, it's the same thing. AI mimics our human thinking based upon the knowledge we feed it. So based on how we feed AI, that is what's going to determine if we're successful or not with it. And that's where we can help you. A lot of people think that they're too late to start an AI project or too late to put AI into their business. But believe it or not, now's the best time. You know, only 72% of small businesses, or 72% of small businesses have not integrated AI into their operations. Only 8.3% are fully utilizing AI. You know, so there's a lot of businesses that have not adopted it and not moved forward. And the thing about it is, it's affordable now. You know, just like the early days of networking, you know, we had large Unix systems, and then, you know, we went to Novell networks and then Microsoft networks, and now we're in the cloud. You know, everything has an evolution. And those early adopters, a lot of times they pave the way for the others. And because of them paving the way, it makes it more affordable and more within reach of, you know, smaller organizations. Now is the time that it's in reach for smaller organizations. You know, there's various ways to get started. You know, you can start simple, and build up. You know, one of the things that we cover in our roadmap of taking someone to AI is understanding the systems that you have in place. And, you know, as you'll see through our roadmap here, you know, the first thing we do is a diagnostic phase. That is what's most important. We have to truly understand your business, and we have to truly understand where you want to be with AI. You know, it doesn't do any good to go buy a bunch of AI tools and then adopt your business to what those AI tools are. You know, a true business system is adapted to the way you do business. You know, sometimes when you buy a business product, you're buying that business model. And that works for a lot of companies that are in industries that are cookie cutter type things. You're doing the same as your competitors. But if you have a truly unique business, a lot of times you're better off to create your own business practice and then develop a solution around that. But keep in mind, if you don't have a manual process that works well, or if you don't have a piece of software that is your business model that works well, if you put AI on top of that, all you're going to do is supercharge problems. And, you know, another thing that, you know, we want you to be really cautious of, everyone is saying they have AI now. There are a lot of products that were never meant to be AI driven, and they have written code and put AI on top of those. And you want to be careful as you go through this phase that you don't end up there, because, you know, just because this product now says it has AI, if it wasn't a good product to start with, AI is not going to make it any better. It's just going to accelerate what it does. So that's why through the diagnostic phase, we really get to know your business. We really get to know the products that you have in place, and we see if they have a true AI offering. The next step of this, we run small scale pilots. We use AI productivity and analysis tools to see, you know, how it's going to work, and we implement it in slowly. And this is where we get your employees buy-in. This is where we educate your employees on how important they are to this process, and how AI is just really a tool to help them do their business. Once we get through the pilot process and we measure our success and our results, then we figure out how to scale and integrate the product. And then from there, we can see real results. But keep in mind, AI is almost a living, breathing thing. You know, you've got to constantly review and optimize. And that's what we do in our AI consultative practice is we set up to where quarterly we're sitting down with you and we're figuring out if this is working for you. And the thing about it is, it doesn't have to be large scale. It can be as simple as, you know, us helping you get started with ChatGPT. You know, through all of this, it's all about understanding what's best for your business and leveraging this tool to make your business better. You know, it's one of the best tools I've seen in my 30 years of doing this. It's really exciting because, you know, a lot of things that, you know, took a lot of time to automate or take care of, or, you know, make more efficient. It was almost not worth the investment with the gain. Now you can do it with minimal investment. You know, I'm very excited about this. I think our firm can help you, you know, get through this, navigate this. This webinar, I hope you can take it away and understand for sure, if this is something that works for your business, one thing we got to keep in mind, it's here to stay. We need to embrace it to learn how to grow our businesses and stay ahead of our competitors. So many of our competitors, are already starting to utilize AI. But the great thing is no one has really optimized it fully, like it can be. So, with that in mind, moving forward, we can help you there. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate that you spent the morning with us. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Roger. We appreciate all your
Yeah.
insights here. And we do have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So if you stick around, we're gonna go ahead and pick your brain a little
Okay.
bit.
No problem.
So just looking over in the chat. Let's see. It says, I see so many different tools mentioned and advertised every day.
Mhm.
Some are pretty inexpensive, but I think the cost could really add up over time. Do you have any guidance for how much we should think about investing in AI tools?
Yeah, subscriptions are a danger. Pretty much everything in the world today is subscription based. And before you know it, you've got 5 or 6 subscriptions. And if you really get down and look at those subscriptions, 2 or 3 of them probably could do everything that you need to do. So, what I would say is be careful of AI bloat. When you look for AI solutions, look how it can impact all aspects of your business. The last thing you want to do is have an AI product for AR, an AI product for marketing, an AI product for customer service. Try to get a product that encompasses all of those. However, sometimes you might not find that, but that's one thing that we can help you through, through our practice in the journey of moving forward with AI is determine how many uses you can have for that one product without having to have several products and end up with AI bloat.
All right. So kill two birds with one stone,
There
and
you
kind of
go.
a targeted approach. Start small
Yeah,
to avoid the
exactly.
bloat. Love
Exactly.
it. Here's another one. It says, one of my biggest concerns is how my employees are using AI tools. I want to ensure that they aren't doing things that open us up for any issues. How do you recommend mitigating that?
Yeah, and that comes back to an overall solid IT process within your organization. A lot of companies, they will limit what applications employees can install, and also, they make sure that those applications have the security credentials that they need to have, and those applications aren't compromising their data. So one of my concerns there is, right off the bat, and we do this in our process, is we create an AI acceptable use standard. And so what we do is we explain to our employees and we create standards and we create parameters of how we're going to use AI and which AI products are approved by the company to use.
Fantastic. Awesome. So yeah, it is something you need to be aware of, but you know, IT, have that process in place.
Absolutely.
Let's see, another question. I feel a little overwhelmed with everything changing so fast. I don't have a big team. How do you think I can keep up?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and we're asked that question all the time. The best way to keep up is have trusted advisors helping you, just like financial and investment advisors. Uh, some people do financial investments on their own, and others, they work with a financial investment advisor because the markets change so quickly. That's the same thing with AI. It's evolving and changing every day. So have a trusted professional that you believe in and follow. It could be you could engage a firm like ours to help you, or it could be a influencer that you trust and you look at them and they've had a good track record. But my biggest thing there is just continually to educate yourself, stay relevant, look at what's going on in the market. And and that will help in that. But if you don't have time to do that, find a trusted advisor, find someone that you trust, and have them help you with that.
Yeah, I like that because trusted advisors in my life help keep me grounded, and so I'm not swayed by every gust of wind, right? I'm better able to stay
Absolutely.
focused and yeah, I love that. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Another question says, I run a small family-owned restaurant. Is AI for social media a good place for me to start?
Absolutely. Centra that I talked about earlier, it actually has a social media bot within it that can create social media posts for you. It can answer social media comments for you. And it can also help you with a social media strategy. And that's not the only one. There's others out there, and there are others that just solely focus on social media. But there's all kinds of places to start. The creative AI is another one. So I would look at both of those products and see what you want. Centra may be the most or the least intimidating to get started with, just to dip your toes in the water. But you'll see eventually you'll outgrow that, and then you can move to another platform.
Yeah. And I would encourage whoever asked that question, let's see, to go and look in our handouts that we've created. Uh,
Absolutely.
go click on that tab. We have some documents there, and it lists a number of products and different areas of your company where those products could help. I think that would be a very useful tool for you.
Yeah, there's some really good information in those handouts. And, those handouts are a lot of what we utilize when we're sitting down with you and creating your journey and your solution roadmap.
Absolutely. So, well, we have a number of other questions, but they're very business specific. So I tell you what we're going to do. Um, we're going to go, we want to make sure you get the proper responses to your questions. So we are going to take those questions and answer them and email those responses, those answers to you to make sure that you have an answer to your question. So actually, I need everyone to do is pay attention to their inbox and check for three things. I need you to check for the responses to the Q&A. I need you to check for the recording of this webinar, and also we do have three lucky winners for the Amazon gift cards from our drawing. And I need you to check your email to see if you're one of those three lucky winners, and we'll notify you that way. Lastly, I just really want to thank you personally on behalf of Axia TP, Roger, myself. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. Hopefully, you found something that you can take away. If you feel like you need additional help or more targeted help, please click on the button at the bottom left and schedule some time with us, and we'd be happy to help you on your AI journey. So thank you, everyone, and
Thank you,
hope you
everyone.
have a good rest of your day.